Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Steward is transforming agriculture by equipping regenerative farms and food systems with the capital they need to grow. As a mission-driven financial partner, Steward works closely with agriculture businesses to scale their operations, improve the health of their lands and waters, and bolster farm-to-regional food systems. To date, Steward has provided over $15 million in business loans to fund 75 unique projects, backed by more than 1,500 participating lenders. Steward is proud to be a certified B Corp. Seek financing or support a loan campaign at gosteward.com. Hey, Thriving Farmers, Michael Kilpatrick here with yet another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. And today our guest is Michael from Terra Vita Micro Farm. And he is a first-generation farmer, built the farm operation from the ground up, starting with 2 vertical microgreen racks. He has a degree in biology, and they farm very biologically minded, trying to set up ecosystems and habitats along with their high rotation farm operations. They are certified organic, seasonal produce, microgreens, edible flowers, mushrooms, herbs, hemp, and honey farm. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, share a little bit about what got you into farming.
Really, it was going through college and going through all those biology classes. It really just helped me connect the dots between health and wellness and the human body and what we're supposed to get from the food that we're supposed to eat. And just kind of how the whole grocery store paradigm kind of took over how we've started to eat every meal. And I saw flaws in there, and then our medical system kind of being so upside down. It just kind of pushed me in the farming direction. I knew there was a better way. I knew I was on the right path, and it just seemed to kind of fit in with how I was thinking and the way my life was kind of moving at the time.
Gotcha. So where did you first, get your hands dirty?
Well, I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, in a small rural town called Butler. And we have a lot of, dairy production, but also a lot of monocropped corn and soy and stuff like that everywhere.
Yeah.
My uncles up there own a 100-acre dairy farm that whenever I was younger, I'd help with the hay whenever it was that time of the year. But it was mainly like crap jobs, like standing in the trailer, stacking up the bales as they came shooting out, or they'd always stick me up in the loft of the barn to stack the bales. That's brutal. Yeah, just all the dust and dirt all over the place. So I grew up not really enjoying farming or what I thought was farming. Really it was whenever I first started to grow my own plants, whenever I first started to develop my own relationship with plants. And that was primarily with a lot of like medicinal and tea herbs. It kind of snowballed from there and just caught fire.
So, all right, going through college, you started seeing the need for that. The biology kind of pushed you over to why it's important. What was the first year like?
It was very uncertain. I had this dream of having my own farm someday, but I didn't own any land. I didn't really know how I was going to go about doing all that. At the time, I was helping another farm set up this microgreen business. This was probably like 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
But, set up a microgreen operation for them. Just this new thing that they heard about, they thought might be cool to try out. So I kind of hit the ground running with all that for them. Unfortunately, that farm went under. So I was kind of in a situation where I was graduating college. I was stepping away from that job. I knew I wanted to start farming. I saw the value in these microgreens. So I was like, well, this is a good place for me to at least get my foot in the door. I started growing those, and really that first year it was just a couple racks. It quickly grew from 2 to 5 to 11. And that was all in a townhouse at the time. I turned a 2-bedroom townhome basically into a studio apartment with a large workspace. We were growing a ton of microgreens then, but I was still always worried that microgreens were going to be a fad crop. You know, they might not be around forever. They might not demand as high as a price point as they did. So I was always looking for ways to like expand and diversify. So we've just always kind of been looking at that side of things, you know. How can we get better? How can we grow our farm? What different products can we offer to give us more resiliency?
Yeah. So so starting with the microgreens, what were your markets? Where were you selling them?
Well, fortunately enough, we live in a really great spot in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's a big hotspot for tourists, but we also have a huge college presence in this town. And probably about 10 years ago, they really started putting a lot of effort into really turning Wilmington into like this gastro destination for tourists. So a lot of fine dining, a lot of microbrews, stuff like that. So our initial markets were just to the restaurants.
Gotcha.
And that was enough to support us for a while. Eventually, we did start doing some local farmers markets, and we branched out from there a little bit more as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So with the restaurants, let's talk a little bit about like what was your technique to approach them?
Like I said, I did start that microgreen operation for that other farm. So that was kind of my initiation into all of it. Just really finding the times of the day when people were going to be there and not be too busy to talk to me, essentially. I'd always take them in a little sample of product, ask to speak to a kitchen manager or chef. Sometimes they would think I was there to apply for a job myself, so I'd have to get past that sometimes. But after that, you know, like everybody that's I've ever come in contact to in the kitchens is always real friendly, and once they see that you're bringing them something beautiful, they're always happy to see you. So
all right, so let's talk a little bit about kind of like what scale are you on now? What crops are you focused on?
Yeah, well, we still do the microgreens. They're still a big part of our operation, but we've definitely diversified. We were growing a bunch of mushrooms there, which we've recently stepped back from, but are starting to get back into the process of getting them going again. We do a lot more seasonal veg. After the microgreens, whenever we started to expand, the first thing was edible flowers, then we started doing mushrooms, then leafy greens, and now we're up to the seasonal veg, the honey, and we're thinking about chickens and stuff too.
Gotcha.
We still do a lot of the leafy greens. You know, they're one of our bigger money makers when it comes to the field produce. But we're always trying to grow new stuff too. We have CSA we've been doing for the past year now. So always looking for cool new products for our customers for that as well.
Yeah. Now the space that you're growing the microgreens in, talk a little bit about that. Is that like a old truck?
It's a shipping container. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you find that keeps things cool enough, or how do you vent in the summer?
Yeah, we have a dedicated AC in there.
Okay.
And there are open vents on the shipping container too. It's not my favorite place to have them, as it can get a little stagnant in there and airflow is not the greatest. But other than that, you know, it serves its purpose. It does a well enough job. The goal for us is to get them into a dedicated caterpillar tunnel of some sort. Just to get rid of the power bill, because right now we're using all the supplemental lighting and all that stuff. So I'd like to get rid of that. Yeah.
You want to use the sunlight if you got it.
For sure.
Now I see you're also using a lot of compost. Where's your compost source?
We have a local company here called Wilmington Composting Company.
Okay.
I'm really good friends with the owner. It's a family business. Oh man, I want to give you the exact year they started, but I can't remember. It's probably been like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
But he has a really cool program where he does like residential and restaurant pickups or services. So he'll leave you a container. You can fill it up with all your compostable material, then he'll come pick it up. He takes it back to his farm site where they compost everything there, turn it back into usable soil, and then a lot of local farmers from around here will go up there, grab their compost that they need and use it on their fields. So it's just like a nice full circle composting service.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's the price per yard running you at this time?
Honestly, I don't even know the exact numbers to break it down like that. Right now we get a big truckload of it for like $700, and then the gas prices for the delivery of it have consistently gone up ever since inflation. So right now I think total for delivery, I think we're paying about $850.
Okay. Per and that's like a 2-axle dump truck.
Yeah, big old dump truck.
Gotcha. All right, cool. And so then with that, are you top dressing every single bed? What's your bed prep look like?
Yeah, we top dress all of our beds every time we replant in them. So whenever we crop out a bed, we basically just use our flail mower to run over top of it. We'll tarp it for a week or two, get back in there, kind of clean up any residual plant material. We'll put our amendments down. We'll put we use about 2 big wheelbarrow loads of compost per 50-foot bed.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have those numbers really broken down as far as what that would be per cubic yard.
And so, and that's every single time you plant?
Every single time we plant. Yep.
Okay. And then you bring the PTR through. Do you broad fork the beds, or how do you keep the compaction out of there?
Yeah, I haven't felt it necessary to really broad fork. Our soil around here is real sandy. I do usually run a tiller through about once a year, sometimes less, just depending on how bad it's gotten in the particular beds we're working in.
Gotcha. All right. And so then what most of your crops is growing outside. Now, are you doing any caterpillar tunnels?
Yeah, we have 1 caterpillar tunnel and 1 high tunnel. The caterpillar right now is basically just being used as a little greenhouse.
Okay.
But I would love to get more caterpillar tunnels in the future. Especially for our environment out here, the way it rains, nothing likes it.
No.
So keeping the weather off, I've seen great benefits in that for lots of farmers in this area, and I imagine all over the place. But
yeah. Now you also do a wide range of crops. I mean, you do everything from herbs to greens to solanaceous crops. I mean, you even see some celeriac here. Talk to me through, what do you feel like is do you have like a signature crop or one that people know you best for?
Definitely our microgreens and our salad mixes. Like I said, and our flowers for sure. But those are probably the 3 we've had around for the longest.
Okay. And when they buy those, are they buying them? Do you sell only by clamshells? I see some clamshells here. Do you sell also by bags?
The salad mix is in bags for the most part. We try to use those eco product compostable containers for the markets where we can. For restaurant orders, we use big plastic bags we get from Uline.
Yeah. And then the mushrooms, are you growing those in like a shipping container as well?
We were growing all of our mushrooms in grow tents that we had set
Okay.
up in our barn. Was really mainly in just one big 10 by 10 grow tent. We had it decked out with all sorts of like humidifiers. We had some lights in there. We're probably growing about 100 to 200 pounds of mushrooms every week out of there. So even just a small space like that, I mean, you can still produce quite a bit.
Yeah. And then were you starting all your own substrate or buying in pre-made blocks?
We'd use all our own substrate. We'd make our own sort of master's mix.
Gotcha. And then steaming it and then inoculating the whole 9 yards.
Yep. We actually had access to a lab. It was like a home lab, but it was as much as like walking into a scientific laboratory as you could get. They had a big fancy flow hood, all sorts of equipment. Just really professional. Unfortunately, our relationship with those people has diminished over the years, and that's why we've kind of had to take a step back recently from our mushroom growing. We need to build our own sort of laboratory facility to do all the inoculations and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now I noticed you actually put potatoes on landscape fabric. Talk a little bit about that. How's that worked for you?
Yeah, I mean, it worked pretty good this year. This was the first year I was trying it. Really, it was just trying to keep the weeds down, give the potatoes a little bit more of a head start, and then also keeping some of the sunlight off the more shallower potatoes because we don't really hill them over the time that they're growing. It worked really well for us.
So you basically peeled that back and there's potatoes just hanging out.
Oh yeah, all happy as can be, ready to get picked up.
Interesting. You didn't have any problem with rodents?
No, we really don't have too many rodent issues at our farm, other than inside the barn.
Yeah, interesting. So one of the things we do a lot of ginger and turmeric, and we put down silage tarps between to keep the weeds down and push the heat down into the soil. I'm almost wondering if early in the season we could use those silage tarps to help the potatoes, stay dark, and then pull them, because we harvest those potatoes by May. End of May. And then those, the ginger and turmeric don't go into June 1st or June 15th anyway. So I could use those, but I'm going to definitely try that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that would work great.
Yeah. So how many square feet are you guys actually farming then?
Right now I probably have close to about 1.5 acres in production.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Gotcha. And then the farmers markets, how many of those are you doing?
We've worked pretty much all of the ones that our area tends to offer here in Wilmington. We have a lot of smaller farmer markets throughout the week. Recently, within the past 4 years, a group of us farmers have started basically our own farmers market. It's a producers only market. So if you didn't grow or make the stuff you're selling, you can't sell it there.
Yeah.
And that one, it has always way outperformed any of the other ones, at least for us. So at the moment, we're just really working that one. And then we also do a farm stand every Friday from our farm property.
Yep. And then do you have like a building you set that up in, or how's that work?
Yeah, we have a barn on the property that has a patio with an overhang over it. So we have an outside cooler set up out there, some wire tables that we've built, and we kind of just display all of our produce out there, and people can show up to the farm, purchase what they want.
Gotcha. Yeah. And how do you advertise that? Is that kind of through word of mouth or?
Yeah, word of mouth. I try to make social media posts from time to time, newsletters, stuff like that. Yeah.
Now I also noticed you're doing value added. Talk a little bit about how that works.
Yeah, we like to do sauerkraut. It's amazing turning a $1, $2 head of cabbage into a $15 jar of sauerkraut.
Yeah.
It's great too, because a lot of people aren't aware of this, but most fermented products that you buy from the grocery store all have to be pasteurized to some degree. And whenever you do that, you denature a lot of the enzymes, you kill off a lot of the microbes, and you're not really eating a probiotic anymore.
Yeah.
So it's nice to offer something that's full of life, full of potential, and full of goodness to people that wouldn't have otherwise normally have gotten that.
Yeah, and that just has cabbage and salt in it.
Yep, just 2 ingredients, nothing else.
And is that something you're producing on farm?
Yeah, we process it on the farm over the last couple years, just because we haven't had that much space in production. I've been buying the cabbage locally just whenever it's in season from another friend who farms around here.
Okay.
But this year, like I said, we have that 1.5 acres, and I probably have, I don't know, probably close to a 1/4 acre all in cabbage. So
Wow.
I'm looking forward to growing and processing all of our own cabbage for this next time we do it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Now you're also doing things like pepper flakes, that sort of thing.
Yeah, for whatever reason, hot peppers are always such a hard sell around here, especially to like the farmers markets. So
Yeah.
anytime I grow them, I always end up with so many that I just don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
So last year I was like, well, I'll take all these cayennes and I'll just dry them out, grind them up, and throw them in these jars and see if people will buy them this way. And I swear to God, I sold out the first market I took them.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
What's your price point on those?
The powdered flakes, I mean, it depends on the size of container that you're putting them in. The larger containers, you could charge anywhere like the trying to think of the size. It's probably like a pint container size worth. You could probably get like $25 for.
Oh, wow. And so how are people using that?
Just in their cooking, you know, as an ingredient, as a spice on top of pizza, all sorts of stuff.
Gotcha. Now let's talk a little bit about the flowers, because you mentioned the flowers and those are kind of popular for you. Are you doing those just as edibles? Are you also doing like a cut flower program?
We're just doing the edible flowers as of right now, but the cut flowers are something we're trying to get into.
Okay.
Last spring was our first time experimenting, just growing some different varieties of things and seeing how they did. I think we're going to step it up a little bit more this spring coming up and kind of have that be more of a feature for our farm table at the markets. It's crazy to see people line up for flowers at the market sometimes. Between the flowers and the bread, there's always such a line. I'm always jealous. I'm always like, man, about the same time I started growing microgreens, I was also getting into baking bread, and I feel like I might have picked the wrong avenue.
So then with the edible flowers, let's walk through the season a little bit, because like once you get into the deep summer, some of those early spring like violas won't really do well.
Yeah, we have some tricks with the violas. We grow a bunch in pots and kind of move them to different spaces throughout the year, just to kind of find the right sort of microclimates for them. That, or, you know, we'll keep them in tunnels, shipping container, just wherever we have the space.
Interesting.
The same with different marigolds. Like the little gem marigolds, the ones that have more of that like winey citrus flavor.
Yeah.
We do the same thing with them a lot too.
Okay, so pots, and then just move them around, try to find cooler spots for them.
Right. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have a high tunnel or a greenhouse with like dedicated heat and whatever else, then I mean, that's the ideal spot.
Yeah. All right. But in the summertime, you like put them underneath the benches in the greenhouse to cool them down, or?
Yeah, just anywhere where they can get some shade. We normally throw some shade cloth on over our caterpillar tunnel or something like that too in the summertime. So that always helps. Gotcha.
Now I'm also noticing here a picture of your ginger and turmeric, and you go ahead and just plant that directly in the ground.
Yeah, I've never pre-sprouted.
Okay. You are further south.
Right. Yeah. We get pretty warm down here pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never felt the need to start the ginger beforehand. It always seems to do fine. The turmeric can be a little bit more temperamental, just where it's kind of waiting for that right soil temperature before it does anything.
Yeah.
That one I've considered possibly pre-sprouting.
And what does the right soil, what do you feel is the right soil temperature?
I feel that turmeric likes it a lot warmer than ginger does.
Interesting. So the fact that you would grow them in separate houses, or you still think they could stay in the same area?
The ginger and the turmeric?
Yeah.
I have them grown in the same spot. They're like, the rows are right beside each other out in the field. We didn't even grow them in our high tunnel this year. I feel like they did a lot better out in the field for us anyways.
Interesting.
But keep in mind too that we don't typically get a frost till around right now either where I'm at. So
yeah, this Sunday. Well, let me check the latest. You want to hear how cold it's supposed to be? We're recording this the 15th of November.
Yes, sir.
And well, now the latest forecast, this has gone all over the place. The latest forecast is Monday morning is 10 degrees. It's gonna be 10 degrees here.
Oh, no, thank you.
Yeah. They had it earlier today at 5 degrees. And so I was kind of freaking to the crew.
Oh yeah.
But
way too cold.
Yeah, that's way too cold. But I was like, yeah, that's literally as cold as it could be. I mean, like, because we typically don't get below like 5 or 0 degrees throughout the entire season.
You guys are in what, Ohio?
Yeah, we're Southwest Ohio, so zone 6A. I mean, we'll still get down there, but typically not that cold. So,
right.
Yeah,
man.
But
yeah, I do not envy. I mean, I despise the heat around here in the summertime, and not so much the heat, but the humidity. It's just so relentless, and it just doesn't let go at all.
Yeah.
And it's so draining. But at the same time, I don't know what would be worse.
Yeah.
The 10 degrees or the 110 degrees.
Well, and here's how they say is like with heat, there's only so many clothes you can take off before you get rested. But with the cold, you can just keep putting more layers on. But say that to someone out, it's 15 degrees with a wind chill and your frost-free hydrant blew open. I mean, that's brutal. So yeah. Talk a little bit about hemp. I know that you guys have done some of that on your farm.
Yeah, the hemp was I'm a big advocate for cannabis, and unfortunately here in North Carolina, THC cannabis is still considered illegal. But hemp was a good sort of foot in the door, something to, I don't know, start the conversation, I guess. And honestly, I just got the hemp license because I was hoping that they would make it easier once the laws changed for people who already had a hemp license to navigate towards a regular cannabis license a little bit easier. Unfortunately, we didn't grow any hemp this year. It's something that became kind of hard to get rid of. Like it's something we don't grow a lot of ever. Yeah. I feel kind of scatterbrained talking about this right now, so I apologize. I'm just trying to get it all lined up in my head. Yeah.
But would you say that it's just the customer demand wasn't there, what you thought should be there, or just the conversation around it in your area is just not where you think it should be at this point?
I feel like the customer demand was there. Flooded markets were definitely a thing there. The first couple years, just everybody was growing hemp, and then once harvest season came along, there just wasn't anywhere to get rid of it. Yeah. We actually just started making all of our own products, pre-rolls and butters and stuff like that to sell. Yeah. And we've been able to move it fairly well that way. I market it to the restaurants too. I have a couple restaurants that have gotten it for like different event dinners to cook with. Okay. I had one restaurant around here that made a hemp ice cream that was magically delicious. It was super good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because hemp, well, it depends on how you distill it or take, it kind of can take taste a little grassy. So, hemp ice cream, I'm really interested in what that came out like.
Oh yeah, no, it was super good. It wasn't astringent or grassy at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a lot of flavor to it. It was great.
Yeah. So then with the plants, were you growing just like the regular, like lifter or, those type of plants?
Yeah, I had a couple specialty varieties that I had gotten clones of from another
Yep.
local hemp grower. One was called Hot Blonde, another was Pink Panther. And I found out around here, at least for our area, growing late season hemp plants outside was the best time of year to do it. So
Okay.
vegging them kind of throughout the summer inside somewhere, and then come late August, early September, putting them outside.
Okay.
They don't have an issue with frost at all. But what happens if you try planting hemp crop in Wilmington during, the spring or whenever you can, is during the middle of the summer or towards the end of the summer, it's still really hot out here and humid and damp. So what happens is about 50% of your crop ends up getting trashed with bud rot or caterpillars and stuff like that. Whereas if you wait towards the end of the season, you don't have any of those issues.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's right. Because I know the further south you go, the more challenges you get with insects with the hemp crop.
Right. Yeah. And they can be relentless in the summertime. So whenever you're like the summertime, if you plant them in the spring is whenever they're going to be stacking buds, but that's also going to be the time that all that moisture is going to work its way in there, that all the caterpillars are going to work their way in there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We've always had way better luck with late season hemp crops down here.
Gotcha.
If you're growing them outside,
Yeah. Do you feel like you'll be doing hemp next year?
I think we will. We just went from our pilot program to a USDA hemp program.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to still go through some of the legal loopholes, or not loopholes, but legal things. Like I have to go get my fingerprints taken and send them off and get a background check still and send that in. But those are only two things. Yeah,
that's not too much work. All right, share a little bit about like your overall marketing. You're doing the restaurants, you're doing the farmers. You guys don't, or do you guys do a CSA?
Yeah. We do a CSA too. We just started doing a CSA. So this fall is our second one that we've done.
Okay. And talk a little bit about what that looks like. How do people pick up? Do you pre-pick it? Do they get to pick what they want?
Yeah, well, our fall CSA this season is a 30-person CSA, a 30-family CSA.
Okay.
They get a box of produce every week. Each box is between $35 and $40 worth of food. I just pick what goes in the box that week, whatever looks best, whatever's a peak harvest. I will make substitutions. Like sometimes we offer eggs from a friend's farm, and we have a couple vegan people that are part of our CSA that don't want the eggs. So if I know that about somebody, I'll let them make a substitution for something like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, you just get what we got, and we have an outside cooler at the barn. So pickups start for everybody on Fridays. They're more than welcome to come to the farm Friday through Tuesday, any time of the day. We don't have to be there at all for you to get your box, and you can grab it and go.
Okay, gotcha. And then how do you have a hard time filling the boxes, or they fill pretty quickly?
Oh, no. Yeah, we haven't had an issue yet anyways with the CSA boxes, getting them filled. It was a little stressful this fall. Like I knew I was going to have food to put in the boxes, but I wasn't sure how quickly all my fall stuff was going to be ready. So I didn't want people to get disappointed if I was calling it a fall CSA, but they were still getting a lot of that summer veg in their first couple boxes, like eggplants and peppers and all that stuff. Yeah.
Now with that fall CSA, do you still have things like, let's say, cucumbers now, or is that kind of done for the year?
We could have cucumbers now. Unfortunately, our crop got infested with pickle bugs or pickle worm.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, it was short-lived this season for us.
Now with pickle worm, is there anything you can spray organically?
There is stuff you can spray organically. We're actually a completely no spray farm, so we don't use any of those biocides, even the organically certified ones. That being said, I do release a lot of beneficial insects, especially into like our tunnels and stuff like that.
Joining me today is Dan from Steward, a mission-driven financial partner for farms across the U.S. Dan, value-added products are exploding right now, and especially farmers are really starting to see the profit in them. Why is that?
Well, value-added products give the margin that farmers need to be successful. Selling, raw material, raw product at the market price is really challenging. And so if you can have a value-added product branded and sold direct, it really provides viability to the farmer. The challenge is there's a lot of pieces that have to come together in order to be successful.
I know for us, taking a cucumber that we were getting $1 for, turning it into a $7 or $9 jar of pickles made a huge difference in our profit margin. Now, there's a lot of steps, though, that you said need to come together. What are those?
So the difference between value-added product is you're dealing with processing, packaging, labeling, direct sales. And so a lot of farms don't necessarily have the infrastructure, they don't have the marketing budget, they don't have all the pieces needed to not only create the products, but push them out into the market. And so we've been working with a lot of farms. We'll provide a loan for them to build out the equipment and infrastructure needed to make the value-added product, to process it and batch it and label it. And then also assist them with USDA grants, such as the Value-Added Producer Grant, which can then cover the marketing costs, the labor, softer costs that are hard to finance, but which the farm may not have themselves. So when we're looking at value-added products, it's the direction that we support the farms that we fund. That's the direction they should be going over time: more value-added products, better margin, more direct sales. But it takes a lot of alignment with the organization to do that. And you want to make sure there's not too much risk and too many resources expended on that. And so by balancing that with financing and grants and other opportunities that are out there, it can be a really powerful mix for farmers.
Like that 1-2 punch to push you over the edge and get you going. I think one of the things that a lot of people get frustrated or held back by is a kitchen, those facilities. But you can do development even in your own kitchen as long as you're not selling that product. And then once you get that viability going, then you go find a shared use kitchen or do even build out your own with your help to take it to production level. Now, we've worked with some farms on this. Talk a little bit about that.
So one of the farms I enjoyed telling the story about most is Byler's Heritage Acres. Is an Amish farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We connected them through a chef who had been buying from this farmer for years. He was selling milk through the co-op. The co-op went out of business. So him and other Amish farmers didn't have a market for their product. So Steward provided financing to do value-added processing for dairy to be able to sell butter and cream and yogurt, and also helped the farmer with a value-added producer grant to cover the labor and operational costs to set that up. And the chef who introduced us to this farmer then also purchased the final product and is selling that in his restaurants and at his shop. And so that was an example of taking a farmer who has a really great product, who's been cut out of the traditional market by intermediaries falling apart, which happens often, and taking it within their own hands to do a value-added product, to cut out the intermediaries and then get the margin that's needed for viability. Obviously, dairy is a very difficult business and you have to be in value add to make the numbers work.
Absolutely. If you're looking for a non-traditional, mission-driven financial partner who understands the business of regenerative agriculture, reach out to gosteward.com today. Yeah, talk through the beneficial insects you're using then.
Right now, it's mainly just assassin bugs and predatory wasps in the high tunnels. We have a late crop of tomatoes and bell peppers in there.
Okay.
So the predatory wasps really take care of a lot of the cutworms and the hornworms and the different caterpillars that really gravitate towards those solanaceous plants.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then the assassin bugs are great for just different types of stink bugs, along with a wide range of other insects. But
wait a minute, you said the assassin bugs are good for the stink bugs?
Yeah, specifically the soldier bugs.
Yes. Interesting. Okay, now talk to me about this. Is that something where you have to put them more in a tunnel, or could you use it out in the field as well?
Yeah, you can use any of the beneficial insects out in the field. Just keep in mind that it's going to take continued applications to get
Yeah.
their population kind of established at first. So it'll probably be a 4 to 6 week program where you'll have to release them kind of every week. And like anything else, the more you know about the particular insects you're releasing, like what their food source is, kind of different plants that they gravitate towards, things like that. If you can supply them with those things kind of around your farm, you're gonna have a way better luck keeping them around.
Yeah. I know in the past we've done like cilantro in the middle of onions, and just let it flower and go crazy because the beneficials just love that habitat.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Fascinating. What kind of advice would you give to a new farmer?
Not to copy somebody else's business model exactly.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I see people just copying people's like way of doing things, which is great, but there's so much context to that and to your particular, business and operation, that what might have worked for them might not be the best way for you to do it, or vice versa. I feel like there's not enough honesty sometimes in those like educational videos. Like the one thing with the microgreens is I always try to tell people is like, we've been really successful with the microgreens, but at the same time, it's all about context,
Yeah.
We're fortunate where we live in this highly populated area full of, people who have a decent bit of money, who are health oriented, a town that has a big focus on fine dining. So it's a little bit easier, I think, for me to move the microgreen products than it would for someone who's living in a more rural, sort of landlocked area. So I think that's always a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. Now, because I think you have a really good point there, because I see a lot of these ads online telling people, oh, you can make, 6 figures with your microgreens. And I'm sorry, but there's only so many places in the US that there's that many people looking for that product.
Oh, for sure.
And, typically for most of the farms that I see successful with microgreens are a small part of their business, or if they're a little bit larger, they still are in a wide range of products that for other things in the salad. They're selling the cucumbers, the radishes, the lettuce, and, people add the microgreens to that. So it's not a one-stop shop. And yes, it's a great way to get started with getting some initial customers, but you're not quitting your day job typically for that.
For sure. And I always try telling people too, growing the stuff's the easy part, it's that selling side where things get complicated.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about the team you have.
Yeah, so we have a good group of people right now. I have let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people working for me at the moment. It gets up to about 10 at the start of spring, and then just over the summer, people kind of trickle away, go to other jobs, or move or whatever. And right now, how I have it set up is I have 2 full-time people and 3 part-time people. So my one guy, Jake, he's basically like my right-hand man. He's the boss whenever I'm not there. I rely on him for way more than anybody else. But it's taken us some time to really figure that out, and I feel like I'm still kind of in the process of dialing in like what's an efficient way to set up a business structure as a team. So yeah, I mean, if you have any insight or tips for me, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Like, is there anything you look for in people you're interviewing or specifically like hiring for?
Yeah. I mean, we've turned over with this current business, we've turned over more people than we have in past. I'd say we made a pretty big mistake this year of trying to push too much on our team.
Uh,
We tried to cram in too many enterprises. I mean, where we were doing, and again, I've got so many ideas, and unfortunately, I can just get so excited about stuff. Like we did, we do elderberries in the spring. So we sell sticks. We sell over 10,000 sticks. And we'll probably up that to about 20,000 sticks this year. So if you are listening and you're thinking about elderberries, we got you covered. So we do willow sticks as well. We have like 8 different types of willows. Then we move into transplant production season for home garden. Then we move into strawberry season. Then we do summer CSA. We did a partner CSA with a local grocery store. And then obviously, we do a pretty large fire cider production as well, which
nice.
actually should be launching here. I don't know if we'll be able to launch it yet for basically farmers yet, because the goal with the fire cider, so guys, stay tuned to this, because this is actually a really exciting business that we're super excited about, is it's Ohio regional fire cider. So we're growing about 9/10 of what's in the jar, or in the jar. And then obviously lemons are not growing yet. But we're looking into, seeing if there's some hardy lemons you can grow in this area. So we'd love to be able to say, everything except the peppercorns is from Ohio, because we actually are now being able to source local apple cider vinegar as well. And the beautiful thing about it, people don't understand what fire cider is it's a basically medicinal tonic. According to the USDA, I can't say it boosts your immune system, but we can say it definitely supports your immune system. So if you feel colds coming on, or you're getting something, or, another one of those winter bugs, start, taking it every 4 hours, and in 2 days, typically it's gone. But all those things said, is that we had pretty high turnover because I felt like we burnt people out. And I'm a type 3 Enneagram, super high DI on the disc. And so I always see my focus is always laser focused on the problems. And so, I might come up and say, hey, we're doing this wrong. And it's not like it's a down to anybody, but I'm just saying, hey, we've got a problem, we're going to fix it. And I have some ideas about fixing it, but it can come across to somebody who's working for me, especially if they're really sensitive, that, oh my gosh, she's complaining about my work. And that's not at all. It's like, hey, I see something we can do better here. So I've definitely had to learn that. So we lost some pretty key people this year. Some of them we knew we were going to move on. Some we didn't think were long-term fits anyway, but we lost a bunch at a key point, which was really just kind of deflating and discouraging. So one of the things we realized is we were trying to do too much low margin products. So like trying to do a partner CSA was very low margin. We had incredibly tight margins, especially because we priced the CSA before inflation hit, and then we fulfilled it when inflation hit. So we basically lost money on that CSA, which was really unfortunate. But I want to build a business, and I really encourage farmers to build a business that's high enough margin that you don't need to push people all the time to do faster, better, bigger, faster. Get more carrots out of the field faster. The goal would be that people can work at a reasonable pace, and at the end of the day, you can stand around and have have a conversation for a few minutes before you all feel like you have to feel like you're always behind. So that's something that we've really started looking at and again, we're diving into the numbers on all of this. But the number one thing we're hiring, because that was the original question you asked, but I feel like I kind of need to go a little bit of a roundabout way, is we are looking for passion. We are looking for people that we know can work hard. We really don't care if you have the necessary experience. We can train for that. Now, granted, we're right now hiring for a farm manager, and we are looking for a couple of years experience because we want you to be able to come on and hit the ground running. We need you to be able to manage, the production of the different enterprises with some experience and have a managerial experience. So in that, I'm more looking for, if someone comes to me with, hey, I know botany, I know how to manage, I could train them for our specific type of farming rather quickly. But if someone comes with no management experience, and like we had someone apply who said, I get overwhelmed and procrastinate easily, that's kind of a red flag, because that tells me that when the chips are down and you've got like a crew of 4 people standing in front of you, and you'd like, hey, I can't have you panic and be like, I'm not quite sure what to do, or waste time with people. You need a good manager is thinking 3 steps ahead and watching people and say, okay, I think, Beth over there, she's almost done with the Napa cabbage. Okay, so I'm going to move her over here. So I'm going to make sure that I have that stuff set up so she can seamlessly move into that, instead of wasting, 10 minutes trying to figure out what's next. Those 10 minutes add up, and that's what causes you to be not profitable. So that's the key of the managerial. But I mean, for general people, we are looking for character. We're looking for they have the passion, so they make sure they want it. The character is like that they're gonna, show up on time, do their job. We pay really well. I would say, compared to what I've seen other people pay in the area. We're basically, I don't know what's your area, but we're fighting with McDonald's offering $25 an hour. So you've got to offer really good money. And obviously we don't offer benefits. We'd love to offer benefits. That's definitely something on our to-do list. And once the farm is more profitable, we will start, put that in there, because again, good people, we want to support families. Another mistake I feel like we made was one of our passions is to support those in our community with the farm. And that is through obviously feeding our community through awesome food and some medicinals, as we're starting to dive into that side of things, but also support, families that may be struggling. And a lot of it's come down to supporting maybe like single mothers or, moms, which would like to get a second job. Now, here's the problem. And again, this is just not anything against this, but I'm just going to bring this up because this has meant that we've had to change our business model. Today, again, one of our moms that works for us called because she had a sick kid. And unfortunately, and I may get some feedback for, some pushback for this. I'm not trying to offend anyone or step on anyone's toes. I'm just saying it how I see it, is that in this world, let's say, a dad has a kid sick. Dad's typically going to work and just, for some reason, and the mom's going to stay home and take care of the kid. But if you've got a single mom, a lot of the time she does not have anyone to stay home with that kid. So that means she's having to miss a day of work. Now, again, we're very free. We feel like we try not to give anyone too much pressure to come in. Like, if you got to stay home, you've got a kid, your family comes first. But here's the problem. This happened today to us is we are like, again, looking at down, 5 degrees on Monday. And so we know we have to get out of the ground, and we've already started to cut team back because sales are dropping off. But now I'm down, again, one of my core people, which can really, get stuff out of the ground. So that meant I was out there scrambling to try to get things done. Again, if I'm hiring a 25 single guy, I'm not going to have that kind of, having to support her family and the aspect of, when a kid's sick or something. So that's why we've started to change our business model to really start to cut back a little bit on the fresh veg and really start to push into some of the products that we can do that are not like as urgent, like fire cider. Anyone can go out and start working on that crop. Like they have to slice, 100 pounds of onions and 50 pounds of this and 40 pounds of this. And so that doesn't require oh my gosh, CSA is going to pick up in 2 days. We've got to go hoof and get all this stuff out of the ground and get these packed in shares and out the door. So again, that's passionate. We're passionate about supporting those type of people in our community. And that's just a little thing that we really are really want to make sure it happens. So that means that we're changing our business model to try to support them and us a little bit better. But other farms are not like that. And other farms are hiring those, 18 to 24-year-olds. And, they're getting, maybe 3-4 months, and then those people are quitting, or they're just there for one season. We really want to have long-term stability. So that's why we're looking for, this particular type of worker, even though we know that they come with their own inherent challenges. We also do an incredible job with vetting. So we have, if you go to our website, anyone can go to our website, they can look at our job application. We also have values, and they have to say that they've looked at the values and read the values. And I'm sure the values tick some people off. But that's what's important to us. And we're building the farm that we want to live at. We want to be here for the next, 20 years and enjoy working at it. So we kind of put a few things in the application process as roadblocks to make sure that only the people that can, double checking and see through a few things can get through. Like we have math problems in our application. We have personality tests in our application. We have, we try to make sure that they'll miss something. We put something in small type someplace and hope that they'll catch it. I mean, you always want people that are, can catch, especially in certain positions on your farm, that can catch some of these, these things that may not be. Like we had someone the other day swap out a hot sauce bottle of Fire for Inferno. Big difference. The customer was not happy. So that's the kind of things that we want to make sure that it's important to us and our team. Again, there's a lot of people out there. I guess to kind of summarize that little tangent there would be the big thing is hire slow, fire fast. We have to be able to trust you. So if we feel there's any aspect of not being able to trust you, that we need to, they're not going to be here. This is on a podcast that a lot of people can listen to. We have, very open in our office with the money. I mean, there's, the change pouch, and most of the people in our team, because we trust them, come out, make the change for the bus in the morning for our retail store, put it out there. Granted, we have cameras out there, but I mean, in all honesty, our team could be, if they wanted to, siphoning money off the top, and we would never really know because we don't have a clear accounting on that just because of how that's set up. So that's why we have to be able to trust them implicitly. And we do. I mean, everyone that works here, we have young kids, so we have to have an environment that's very family friendly. That's definitely something we asked on the interview. How do you do with kids? And we make working interviews. So I think that's another key to our success, is doing a working interview. I don't think we've really done a working interview. At the end of them, they're like, oh yeah, this isn't for me. We've been more desperate in some instances than others. And we've also selectively selected people out. So where if we, someone will come work for us, we had someone, they were fabulous in the aspect that they could just crank through things. They were faster than anyone else on the farm. I mean, like you said, I need 100 bags of beets and they would be done within an hour. But this person wasn't really reliable. And the other problem was there was just something there. We couldn't quite nail them down on certain things. Like they would say one thing to some people and another thing to other people, make both people mad at the third person. And so like we finally came to a point that I was looking at my HR person who, after this was the second time that she'd made me and the HR person mad at each other because but she said, and I said, no, but she told me. And so we're like, you know what? This is the kind of drama we don't need. And so we didn't fire this person. We intentionally did not give a raise. And so we just let them run out their clock. And they just, again, found something else. And again, I wish them all the best. If the circumstance had been a little bit different, they would have probably been fabulous for us. But again, because of the different things we've got on here, it just ended up not being a good fit. We just kind of let them self-select out. Again, I would say I'm not the person to come to on how to have a great team. I feel like I'm a failure half the time at this. I do feel that we are, in the last couple months, we've actually started to develop a fabulous team around us. We're super grateful for the folks we do have. We got some rock stars that we hope stay with us for a really long time. If they don't, again, more power to them, wish them the best. But I would say, celebrate them, praise them. Again, be generous. It's not easy farming. Farming's not easy. So, it's the little things that count. It's one of our team members, unfortunately, she is moving on. She brought in popsicles for the team. That she didn't need to do that, but she just did that out of her own goodness of her heart because she knew we had a tough day happening that day. And so those are the little things. I mean, like, we have our OnStorm retail store and we do cider slushies on there. Some of the hot days are young kids. All right, guys, appreciate your hard work. You really pushed it out the last hour. Go get yourself a slushie on your way home. So they really appreciated that. And that again, that enterprise paid for itself this year, but it also paid for itself in just crew morale of keeping the young guys and crew moving.
Yeah, that's important. The little things like that. And I'll admit I'm not the best at thinking of those little things all the time, but my girlfriend's really good at reminding me and taking care of that stuff for me sometimes. So I'm very thankful for that. Yeah. But everything you said definitely resonates with me, especially the trying to find different ways to tell people things where they're not gonna take it so defensively,
Yeah, I would say our best hiring we obviously love to hire internally. So, and we also I have a business coach, and his big thing is develop your farm team. So we have a bunch of young kids that we are trying to work through the system. So right now we have 4 younger kids, which we are working to basically train for leadership roles. Because again, I've seen 16 to 18-year-old kids work way better than a 35-year-old because they've been around for a while and you've been trained for multiple years. So that's one thing we are working with. We are pretty active in the local homeschooling community. We find really good quality with a lot of homeschoolers that can be really helpful there. My wife is excellent at that, the bringing out coffee cake or bread or something to the crew on those cold days.
Or just like the little things you kind of have growing kind of around the farm, just making sure everybody gets a little bit of it,
Yeah, exactly. The fun stuff.
I did want to say that along my farming venture, I really learned to farm through watching all the old YouTube videos from Curtis Stone and JM and even you, the videos from you up at Connor, I think might have been Connor Crickmore's, the Never Sink Farm. That might have been the first time I saw you, and then I saw you doing some stuff with Curtis, and so I followed you for a while, and I look up to you and everything you've done. So I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a great conversation. I appreciate all the work you've done. Looking through your Instagram, the farm looks beautiful, and you're doing some innovative stuff. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Steward is transforming agriculture by equipping regenerative farms and food systems with the capital they need to grow. As a mission-driven financial partner, Steward works closely with agriculture businesses to scale their operations, improve the health of their lands and waters, and bolster farm-to-regional food systems. To date, Steward has provided over $15 million in business loans to fund 75 unique projects backed by more than 1,500 participating lenders. Steward is proud to be a certified B Corp. Seek financing or support a loan campaign at gosteward.com. So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.